Behind the Shades.
The key is to learn how your child ticks and increase your understanding as to what's contributing to them feeling anxious if they are feeling anxious. So what is it? Is it their mind state? ADHD kids, can their mind's just buzzing and it can be very in overwhelm and they can get in overwhelm very quickly and they can find it hard to have structure and routine and things like that. And they don't actually like it, but it's actually the very thing they need. So if we know that, if we know they're going to resist it, but it's what they need, we learn ways, clever ways of giving them structure and organisation and routine that they are happy with. And we work with them. We don't work against them. So we learn what works for our child in that particular circumstance. And then, you said if they've got illness, for example, many kids worry about illness, so that creates anxiety. So like you said, with diabetes or something. So let's minimize the anxiety by being that support person for them so that you're their guide to help them through it so that they build confidence that they can handle it. So I often say, instead of bossing, I say, let's stop selling, telling, and yelling at our kids. Because we keep telling, selling, and yelling. So many parents just
Describe
tell.
those. Describe those for me,
Yeah,
because I'm
so
so
telling.
curious.
So telling, you need to do this, you need to do that. Oh, come on, you've got to do that. Or we over explain things like kids. Seriously, adults love to over explain, and we've lost them at 3 words in, but we keep explaining and we keep over explaining and telling them, and they're just la la blah 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 in their head. Maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not doing it, obviously, overtly, but it's still happening. We've lost them. So parents love to tell. They love to tell kids what they need to do and how they need to do it and all this, give all this advice. And I'm going to say uninvited advice. So one of the big skills is to invite your child into a conversation instead of just start it and vomit your ideas all over them. When they didn't get any buy-in. So that brings us into the selling. And we start selling our ideas onto them. Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to this. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Or, oh, this is the way it should be. And this is how it should be. And blah, 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 blah. We go. And it's like, I'm going to say to you, Terrain, buy this pen. It's the best pen. And you're thinking, be quiet. I don't need a pen. What are you talking about? And I'm going, oh, no, you've got to have this one, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just selling my idea onto you. And you're not buying. And this happens with parents all the time and kids. The kids aren't buying. You're just trying to sell your idea, sell your opinion, sell your thought onto them and hope that they just follow suit. Well, then it's actually the worst way to do it. It's like, go away, go away. I'm not listening, not listening. And we might politely, if we're, in that mood, we might politely, yeah, okay, mum, yeah, okay, mum. But boom, that just went, that disappeared because that didn't land. Because unless we tune in, we're just making it all about us. So there's the telling, which is giving advice. You need to do that, and then the selling is we're trying to sell our thoughts, our beliefs, our opinions onto them, instead of helping them form their own opinions and being curious. What do you think? What when they say something, instead of shutting them down, listen and go, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. Oh, you see it that way, do you? Be open. It's okay. We don't have to just try to manipulate our children to fit the square that we think the picture that they need to fit into. So that's the selling. And then the yelling, well, that speaks for itself. That's us dysregulated. It's got nothing to do with the kid. It's us being in a dysregulated state. That's us not being able to handle the emotional challenge that's happening right now. So we hike up and we're out of control. We're not able to manage our emotional state in a mature fashion.
You mentioned something that I'm connecting it, and it reminds me of a situation in my life where you gave the yelling, telling, and selling.
Yeah.
And we deal with that when it comes to our children. And I've noticed, and you've probably seen this, as adults, we still adopt that same behavior in our interpersonal interactions. And it reminded me of when I used to date this girl and she was yelling on the phone about something. And I put her on speakerphone and I put the phone down and I ended up doing 2 loads of laundry before she even stopped yelling. Right.
Yes.
But as adults, you mentioned it's an act of immaturity because we don't ever grow up and become full function adults. We're just adults in age, but in our mindset, we're still very immature. We're still that 5, 6, 7 year old where we yell to get our way. We sell to
Yeah.
get our way. We tell and we tell and we tell and we tell to get away. Very similar to how we would treat our children or maybe treating our partners, our friends, right? And it shouldn't be in a situation where you have to sell someone to be with you. You have to
Yeah.
yell at someone to understand you. You have to tell someone to buy into you.
Yeah.
So when you have these adults who are taking this type of approach, not only with their children, but in their day-to-day life,
Yeah.
what are some of
It's
the commonalities that's maybe blocking them from breaking that cycle and understanding and realizing what they're actually doing?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a big one. That's huge. So most people are doing this unconsciously. They're unconsciously unaware that this is what's driving their behavior. And for most of us, look, we all do it from time to time. We're not going to be perfect. It's having that awareness that we're doing it. So firstly, we need to have the awareness that we're doing it. And then we need to kind of accept it and own that we're doing it. And then we need to do something about it. So I say, there's 3 A's there. There's awareness, there's acceptance, and then there's action. We actually act and do something differently once we're aware of it. But if we don't have any awareness that this is an unconscious pattern that's driving us, the person that was yelling at you on the phone, she was convinced you were the problem. She wasn't seeing herself as the problem and her behavior as a problem at all. She was, or whatever she was whinging about, was the problem. It wasn't her. So that's that disconnect of not realizing, oh, hang on a minute, there are a few things we can control, and that's how we respond to certain challenges. So are we taking responsibility, or the word respond, or responsibility, able to respond instead of react? So we're either responding mindfully or we're reacting. Responsibility is able to respond. When we're reacting, we're in impulse. We're just it's all just coming out. There's nothing mindful about it at all. There's nothing about us regrounding ourselves and being in the present moment and taking responsibility for our emotional state and how we're dealing with this challenge. So unless people are aware of it, the patterns that play out in their life, they've got blind spots. They have got no idea that this is something that they can change about themselves, and then they'll get a different life result. So helping people, I often help people see patterns. The parents, I help them see patterns that are coming out in them. I gently and compassionately challenge them, and I get their permission. I say, is it okay if I share something with you? I'm noticing a pattern. Is it okay if I share? And because I've invited them in, and then it's yes, and then I've noticed this. And now, most often, it connects back to some early childhood trigger that's coming up, and we go back into that old childhood pattern that was set down, that blueprint that was set down in those first 7 years. We've just reactivated that childhood blueprint. And it could have been anything that set us off into that belief system, into how we should behave or what we shouldn't put up with, and all these expectations and all these ideas that we've grown up with. We've been triggered, and it's when we're triggered, it's a part of us. It's a beautiful sign that, oh, that's something I need to work on. I'm being triggered here. I'm getting myself in a state. My husband calls it a 2 and 8, a 2 and 8 state. I'm getting myself in a 2 and 8. What do I need to do here to regulate myself and to move through this? And maybe there's a past hurt coming up. There's a trigger coming up. What do I need to do to heal myself from that and to rethink? Oh, actually, is this something that I can change and handle differently? Is this? And that's all part of this whole taking responsibility and expanding our awareness. So I say we're either in expansion or contraction. There's nothing in between. We're either expanding and growing, or we're just contracting and we're just doing the same thing over and over and over, and we're just keeping ourselves stuck in an old unresourceful pattern, or we're opening up and we're growing and we're improving ourselves.